LA Kings fans are asking about what the roster will be for this season, and they're still kicking around Connor McDavid trade rumors. That and more on this fan feedback edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also one of the co-hosts of Locked On NHL Game Night, your place to go to get a recap of the night in NHL once the season gets going. And I am a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. It is time for another edition of our weekly tradition, which is fan feedback. It's your chance to have a voice on what you want to talk about with the LA Kings, questions, comments, whatever you want. It's your chance to sound off. So we will begin right away and check in with Will in Oxnard. And he says, real quick, I could definitely be wrong, but I thought Liam Greentree had some kind of cast fit on him for his hand that he was playing with. It could be why he wasn't 100%. Could be wrong, though. Might be worth a look into. All right. Well, I'll give you my opinion on that in a minute. He continues, I've been a big believer in Quentin Byfield from the beginning, but you can see the skill and progression over the years. Same with Turcotte, although he's not quite there, you can see the skill and progression. Clark definitely has the skill, so I'm eager and curious to see the progression. My only legitimate concern is about his skating. The Kings do feel that they can draft players that aren't great skaters and develop them. For instance, Greentree's knock is his skating. Although I believe in the Kings organization on developing skating, I see his weakness as he just outright is slow, and that's something that could be harder to teach. As a defenseman, that can be exploited. Here's my 2 cents on the matter, and I hope it's not actually an issue. Jim Hiller, in his press conference, talked about a player who no one's talking about, who he thinks has a shot at making the team, and I do think it's Jeff Malott. He passed the eye test for me last season, and he's willing to drop the gloves, which is an important gap in our roster with Tanner gone. He might be one of the extra forwards that stays with the team and gets a few extra games here and there. Lastly, I have high hopes for Kuzmenko. My off-the-wall theory on him is that he struggled everywhere he went because of the language barrier. He actually had a translator in Vancouver, literally answered a post-game question in Calgary saying, I didn't understand what you said. And he had a hard-ass demanding coach in Philly. Gabby helped him translate here and there, and no doubt it was so he could better understand the coaches and teammates. The dude is obviously very talented, but now he's got two very calm leaders on his line, Kopitar and Kempe. They talked before about how game about they talked about it before about all game. The three of them were talking to each other and learning. I just saw a post-practice interview with him talking about how Juicy, funny he said Juicy, and Kopi are talking a lot and playing like they have one mind. His English seems to be better as well. I think this dude is underestimated for his team aspect in the game, and English is incredibly important. The other side of the coin is that Gabby's gone. So if he's insecure about asking questions, he might not be able to get that help. Curious what your thoughts are. Go Kings, go. And that was Will in Oxnard. All right, Will, first off, I didn't see Liam Greentree wearing any kind of protection on his wrist. I certainly don't think it would be any kind of a cast, maybe some sort of a brace. He did have wrist surgery. He told us that he was 100% close to being healthy. So maybe it was just something extra that he wanted to wear to give him some support. But I'm pretty sure it was not a cast, but maybe he did have something on, but I didn't see it. As far as players who don't skate well, every time I hear that, I think of Luc Robitaille because they said Luc Robitaille couldn't skate. And he took his non-skating ability and became the highest scoring left winger in NHL history for many, many years before someone named Alexander Ovechkin finally passed him by. So I think being a good skater is a little overrated. That might sound weird. But if you have good hockey sense, if you have all these other tools and, if you know where to be on the ice if you have anticipation and all that, you can overcome that. Obviously, Luke Robitaille is a great example. That there have been many, many others as well. And there's also been examples of guys who are really great skaters who didn't turn out to be very good NHL players. So I'm not saying it isn't important, but I don't think that it's as important as some people might make it seem. As for Andrei Kuzmenko, I have to say he is not shy. As a matter of fact, he might be the most talkative player on the Kings roster. When he's in the locker room, he never shuts up. He is constantly talking. I don't know that everyone is necessarily always listening to him, but he is very vocal in the room. Now, I'm sure it seems, as you say, and as it seems just from hearing interviews with him, that his English is a work in progress. But I think it's a great sign that he is not. I mean, some people who have a language issue would be shy and maybe not want to talk or not want to feel like, people think they're dumb because they don't understand everything that's going on. He's not that at all. He talks constantly. And if you watch the games, he's always talking on the bench as well. And the players, I don't know how much they're listening to him, but any issues you might think Andrei Kuzmenko might have of being reserved or not talking or not asking questions, I don't think that's going to be a problem because, again, he loves to talk. Christine in Long Beach says, "Hey, Eddie, I found the show this offseason and I was hoping to find something to get me more connected to the team and learn more about what's going on. So I'm happy I found you. I feel like I am a smarter Kings fan than ever going into the season." Oh, that's awesome to know. Thank you. So thanks for that. I know you said Jeff Malott will likely be taking Corey Perry's spot while Perry is out. Do you think Malott will stay with the team once Perry returns? And also, who will be on the roster as the extra players to start the season? And then who might be sent down when Perry returns? Also, could you tell us anything extra about Jeff Malott? I know he got called up last season, but I honestly don't really know much about him at all as far as a person. Any interesting stories or facts that you can share? Thanks for the show, and I'm excited about the season. Go Kings, go. Christine in Long Beach. Okay, well, I believe Jeff Malott is going to start the season on the fourth line on the left wing. I believe Alex Turcotte will start at center on the fourth line. So that leaves 3 extra spots for 6 players. Samuel Helenius, Akil Thomas, Andre Lee, Liam Greentree are the forwards. Jacob Moverar and Kyle Burrows are the 2 defensemen. Now, I don't know what Jim Hiller is going to decide to do as far as carrying 2 extra forwards and 1 extra defenseman or 1 extra forward and 2 defensemen. Last year, they had 2 defensemen. My lean is that they will do that again this season. So I think both Jacob Moverar and Kyle Burrows are going to be on the roster. If it's between one of those 2, I think Moverar gets the edge, but I think they're going to keep them both. So that means there's 1 extra forward spot. So based on how they've played this preseason, and I haven't seen every practice and training camp, but how they played this preseason, I would rank it Helenius, Greentree, Thomas, and Lee. Actually, you know what? I would have Thomas first now that I think about it. I would have Thomas first, probably Greentree second, and then Helenius and Lee. But to be honest, there's not a ton of separation between any of them. They've all been okay. Malott has been much better than okay. That's why he's going to have that spot on the left side. So as far as what they're going to do, I mean, Greentree is going to go back to his junior team. I don't think he's going to get the 9-game audition. Helenius is still on his entry-level contract, so I believe he can go up and down without passing through waivers, I think. Now, once Corey Perry returns, the Kings will have to decide if Malott or the extra forward, I would say most likely Helenius or Thomas, is going to get sent down. But I think until then, I think it's probably between Helenius or Thomas. If Helenius can get sent down without passing through waivers, then that makes the decision for the Kings. They don't. Why risk losing Akil Thomas if you don't have to? So I have to get that clarified on Samuel Helenius. If he does, if he's not eligible to go through waivers, or I should say, if he's not eligible because of an entry-level contract, that he doesn't have to go through waivers, then I think that they'll hold on to him. If he can, I think they'll send him down and keep Akil Thomas. But we'll see. We'll see. That's a big thing that needs to get clarified for me to know if it's going to be Helenius or Thomas. As for Jeff Malott, he's 29 years old. He went to Cornell, originally from Ontario, undrafted. He played 1 game for the Winnipeg Jets. before joining the Kings. Obviously, 12 games last season for Tanner Jeannot, played all 6 playoff games. He's yet to score an official NHL goal. Remember, he had that awesome goal that he scored that was waved off because of the offside. I don't know if there's any real interesting nuggets about him, but you may know his older brother, Mike Malott, is an MMA fighter in the UFC and has a professional record of 12-2 with 1 draw. So there's a little bit about Jeff Malott. Coming up, the Connor McDavid to LA rumors will not go away. We'll get into that a little bit next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you'd like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we continue with your emails. This one comes from Stefano. He is in Bath in the UK. And I looked it up because I'm a geography nerd and I like to know where things are. Bath is in the southern part of the United Kingdom, west of London, near Bristol. He says, hey, Eddie, it's been a while since I've emailed. Thanks for all the content in the doldrums of the offseason. I'm excited for the season. My expectations are not so high given the changes on D, but I really like our forward group as always. I think the Kings are underrated by the mainstream media. I hope Q can make a big leap. He looks great this preseason, super fast and skilled, and I hope the same for Clark. Nice to have a D-man with his swag. I hope he takes it up a notch. I'm going to be turning the big 4-0 next March, and I am making my way to LA with my wife and son to try and see the Kings play for the first time ever. I need to see Kopitar live before he retires. Do you have any tips on places to visit in SoCal? Please give me your recommendations. Thanks again, Eddie, and also for pronouncing my name correctly last time. It doesn't happen often. Go Kings, go. I hate Edmonton. Stefano, I'm worried I didn't pronounce it correctly, in Bath in the UK. Well, great to hear from you, Stefano. I hope. That's awesome that you're planning on coming to LA to see Kopitar before he retires, to see your first Kings game. Definitely let me know when you get here so that we can hopefully meet up and say hello. Well, since it's your first time in California, I guess I have to recommend all the touristy things. You know, Santa Monica Pier, Hollywood Sign, Griffith Observatory. Maybe take advantage of the entertainment aspect of Los Angeles. Maybe seeing some sort of a show or a concert. I would say also, since you have a child, I don't know how old your son is. Certainly Disneyland is right down the road. Certainly that would be a recommendation as well. And I could certainly give you a lot of tips about that. So hope you are going to be able to make it out here. I believe you said in March, and hopefully we can meet up. That would be awesome. Gary is in Orange, and he says, I just heard a wacky trade proposal that came from an Oilers podcast that came up on my YouTube feed for some reason. They mentioned some type of credible source, but I forgot who it was. Connor McDavid to the Kings for Quentin Byfield, Philip Deneau, Brant Clark, Carter George, and multiple first-round picks. Obviously, this would have to be a sign and trade, and we know it's probably not happening, but I'd like to get your opinion just for the fun of it. And that was Gary in Orange. I actually saw that as well. The source was from a guy named Eklund. He's from Hockey Buzz. He is a mysterious hockey reporter who basically deals in rumors. And Eklund is actually a fictitious name. I don't know what his real name is. He's been around for a while, and I don't put much stock into anything he says because he doesn't put his name on it. Period. You can say anything you want, and you're just some guy, in the shadows. And I guess you could argue, if you're not a mainstream reporter, you can throw all these rumors out there and blah, blah, blah. I don't listen to anything he has to say. But as you said, it's for fun. So the Kings will be giving up their number one center for the future, their number one defenseman of the future, and their number one goalie of the future, plus Philip Deneau and multiple first-round picks. Let's say 2 for the sake of argument. I don't care about Deneau. All due respect to him. Don't care about the picks. Hugh, Clark, and George are a big price to pay, but you have to give to get. Connor McDavid's 28 years old. You're getting him in his prime years. He would have to agree to an 8-year deal. You're right. It has to be a sign and trade. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I am always going to make a trade to get the best player in the world in his prime if I can. So I would absolutely make that trade. Of course, the only way this happens is if McDavid wants to come here. He has a full no trade clause. I guess the argument against it, if you're someone who says that's too high of a price to pay, which it isn't, but you would say, well, McDavid is the greatest player in the world, arguably, and he's won exactly 0 cups. Now, yes, he has been close, but he's never won it. It's not like you're getting a guy who's a proven Stanley Cup winner. I guess that would be the argument against. And look, the Kings, once upon a time, made a trade to get the greatest player in the world, and they didn't win a cup either with him. But you still make that trade 100% of the time. And the same thing goes for Connor McDavid. So I don't think there's any chance of it happening. Is it fun to talk about? Sure. But I don't think it's realistic in any way, shape, or form. But it is very curious to see what Connor McDavid is going to do, because he has the Oilers by the onions, and he's holding all the cards. So we'll see. Andy from Guelph in Canada checking in. He says, follow up to last week, I enjoyed your going TMZ comment in relation to my Kaliev share. I really liked him when he was coming up, so I was intrigued. A few points to make here. I may not be Ed and Brea, but I guarantee Kempe signed before Christmas. If I'm wrong, then you are allowed to choose my consequence. The more I watch and read, I'm fully confident in meaningful steps for Byfield, Laffey, Clark, and Turcotte this year. Finally, I think too much is being made of the decor. No one has really commented on the fact that the team played about 50 games without Doughty last year. Many would have thought the D couldn't hold up without him, and it did. Gavrikov was good, but we haven't fallen off a cliff. It's going to be okay. Your thoughts? And that was Andy in Guelph. Andy, I 100% agree with you. Gavrikov was amazing last season. He was one of the best players on the team. But for most of his career, he's been good to very good. He's never really been great. Now, maybe he will be great from here on out. I think he's in a good situation in New York, playing on their top pairing with Adam Fox, who's very talented. But I think, man, maybe ultimately that's the reason why he left. He knew that he wasn't going to be on the top pairing. Mikey Anderson was always going to be there, and maybe he thought he wanted more of a role, so he left to get that. And I saw he's wearing an A for the Rangers this year. But the Kings, as you correctly pointed out, their calling card is defense, team defense, and I don't see that slipping very much, honestly, if at all. Doughty obviously will be back for a full season. Clark should be better. Anderson will be Anderson. I think Dumoulin will be just fine. I think Edmondson and CC will be fine as well. And you still got the solid goalie in net. So the Kings' identity is still defense. It's still going to be amongst the best defenses in the league. They'll limit number of shots. They'll limit goals against. The power play, I think, for the Kings is going to be better. Add it all up, and I think the Kings will have another season like they did a year ago, and then get in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens there. Nicholas in Italy is checking in. I like the international flavor of today's show. He says, great podcast. Love listening. Keeps me connected to the Kings community from oceans away. I've been a fan since 1979. My family's been going to games since before the team played at the Forum in the old sports arena. I heard you mention getting the pronunciation of a Kings player correct. Here it is phonetically. Kirill Krisanov. The diminutive of Kirill is Korea or Kiryasha. You'd use those in the same way as Eddie or Nick for our respective names, but we'll wait until he makes the team and wins a Norris to use those. Keep up the great work, good sir. Nick in Italy. Prior to that, decades in Kiev, Tashkent, Moscow, and Tbilisi. The latter explains the Russian language tips, and that was Nick in Italy, who apparently has been in Russia for a while, and so he's helping me with my pronunciation of Kirill Kirsanov, who is turned into my Samuel Fugimo or Fogamo, a name that I just is not coming easily for me. But hey, if he makes the NHL one day, I'll hear it a lot and eventually I'll get it, I think. Although I'm still not 100% sure I'm saying Movarar correctly. Hockey Reference has it spelled phonetically as Movarar, but I've heard people say Movarara as well. So we do the best we can. Ed and Bray is going to check in with some McDavid talk, and we have a rain prospect report as well from our guy Don in San Fernando. We will check in on that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. All right, Ed and Brea is checking in. He says, first, I'm glad the Kings are undefeated like my Chargers, even though it is just preseason. Seems like it's the same formula like last season. Solid team defense, having our goalie save counts limited, and controlling the puck throughout the game. Glad we shut out the Quacks because I thought we were going to get shut out by Lucas Dostal this year, the favorite to win the Vezina. Opposite with Darcy Kemper getting the shutout. Carter George, Anton Forsberg looked solid too in their games earlier this week. Always, I want to say our goalie should be fine this season if the Kings play this kind of defense, which they were top 3 last season. Our power play looks sluggish to start. However, it may pick up as the season goes along. Ed then went into a pretty long diatribe about the top 10 goalies in the NHL. And I know, Ed, you're a goalie aficionado, but I just didn't see how that kind of fit into the Kings talk. If this was like an NHL show, that would be something that we would go. So I appreciate the work you put in to do that, but I'm not gonna read it on the show, but I appreciate that. In closing, he says, I read Kempe and the Kings contract talks are not close yet, making me think I'm likely right that maybe Kempe is not the top move for Holland. It's McDavid. See what happens. Kempe is one of my favorite Kings. However, if you can get an elite player like McDavid, who still has not signed an extension, hard to say no to that. Keep up the good work. Go Kings, go. And that was Ed in Brea. All right, Ed. First off, I will bet you any amount of money you want that Lucas Dostal will not win the Vezina Trophy. He will not even be a finalist for the trophy. He's playing on a terrible team. It's not going to happen. Any amount you want, you name it, I will bet you it will not happen. So there's that. As for the theory, I guess you're saying that the Kings won't re-sign Kempe because they want to sign McDavid. I guess my question would be, why is that an either-or situation? Sign both of them. I mean, wouldn't you want Kempe to play with McDavid? Wouldn't McDavid want to play with Kempe? Yeah, it's going to be expensive to sign both of them, although Kopitar's contract coming off the books will help. You may have to do some maneuvering, but I don't see Holland not signing Kempe or being reluctant to sign him because he needs to save money for McDavid. I don't look personally. I said I think the McDavid thing is a pipe dream, and I will admit people would have thought you were absolutely insane for saying Wayne Gretzky was going to be traded away after the Oilers had won a Stanley Cup and he's in his prime, and it happened. But I don't think this is going to happen. But like I said, if you want to sign McDavid, which every team in the league would, I don't think you have to sacrifice signing Kempe so you can sign McDavid. You want both those guys, so you sign both of those guys. So I don't think one, I don't think one affects the other. I don't think you're saying, well, we want to sign McDavid, so we can't re-sign Kempe. I don't think that's the case at all. If that, and again, the McDavid thing is very unlikely. Finally, we have Don from the San Fernando Valley checking in. He is our Ontario rain reporter, and he's going to write in periodically, updating us on what's going on in the rain. And he's doing, before the season starts, kind of a prospect report. He had his first-tier prospects last week. Today, he's talking about the second-tier prospects in Ontario, who are, in his opinion, Francesco Pinelli, Jakub Dvorak, Jared Wright, Atu Yamson, and Kenny Connors. He also says, but first, good news and bad news from the Kings opening practices regarding 2 of my designated first-tier prospects. First, the good. Goalie Eric Portillo, previously suffering from a back injury, is back at practice, looking healthy and presumably ready to scrimmage. Hooray! And for the bad, second-year D-man Angus Booth had to be helped off the ice at practice from the apparent knee injury, the extent of which is unknown as of the moments of writing. we'll have to wait and hope for the best with young Angus. Well, the update is he's out 6 to 8 weeks, very similar to Corey Perry. All right, on to Don's second-tier prospects, starting with Francesco Pinelli. He says he's a third-year pro who was a big scorer in junior, but he has to develop a two-way bottom six type of game to have a chance to play at the pro level. He's gotten a bit better defensively in season 2 and also seemed a little more physical than he was in season 1 in the AHL, but he needs to kick his whole game up another notch to get his shot at the show, in my opinion. He'll need to score at least a few more points, be more consistently physical, and play a degree tighter on defense. He can't skate. He has a nice skill set, but needs more strength, in my opinion. He's listed 6 foot tall, but he's still likely under 200 pounds. He's got a chance to make the NHL, but at this point, probably under 50% in my estimation. Kenny Connors is 22 out of the NCAA, had a good performance in the second Kings rookie game against the Ducks last week with a hat trick, centering a line with Greentree and Cohen-Zimmer on the wings. It'll be interesting to see how he does as the competition stiffens over the coming weeks. Connor is a hardworking two-way guy who plays a 200-foot game and has a pretty good hockey sense, although his puck skills may prove to be somewhat limited. He played a middle six role in college. However, if the current listing at Elite Prospects is accurate, he's now 6'2", 207, which is nice size for a center, but hoping this guy will be a pleasant surprise like Angus Booth was last year. Best case scenario, a bigger version of Alex Iafallo. Jared Wright is a skinny 6'3" checking winger with great wheels, as they say. He can fly, but he may have a bit less offensive skill than Kenny Connors. He is a bottom six candidate exclusively. Still, the reach and speed he possesses are intriguing. If he can build more strength and grow other aspects of his game, he might possibly make it. Jakub Dvorak is a tall defenseman who has shown me nothing so far. In 46 games last season, I can't recall ever noticing him once. I don't know that he was even quietly efficient either. He was a -8 with 4 assists, but he was more invisible than Claude Rains was in the 1933 classic movie. I got to stop for a minute. I did not think we would get a Claude Rains reference on this show. I think he was the original Invisible Man, if I remember correctly, and I may not. Back to the email. He says, I don't remember him doing much of anything. In his defense, he was a Euro kid, only 19 last season, and was just getting his feet wet in the Pro League. But this season, we need to see a lot more. Heck, I can't even tell you what type of D-man he is. He did so little to stand out. Hopefully that will change this season. And Aatu Yamson played 36 games last season. I believe he was injured. Had 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points. He's tall at 6'2", but skinny, listed at 175. Hopefully that is an old weight and that he's a bit heavier now. Missing so many games last season, he will need to hold up better in order to really show what he has. His skating looks good, and he appears to have good but not dazzling puck skills. He did show a few flashes of standout play, even winning a game or two outright with his scoring, as I recall. I'd love to see more of that, probably a bit of a long shot, but Yamson's not out of the running, at this point. Now he holds up under the physicality of the AHL, will likely tell the story of Aatu Yamson. Next rain report will be after a couple of AHL games have been played in a couple of weeks or so, and that was Don in San Fernando Valley. Thank you, Don, for your rain report. Appreciate that. The Ontario Reign, by the way, will open up their season Friday, October 10th in Ontario against the Tucson Roadrunners. We'll give you updates on how they do, who their leading scorer is, some quick game recaps, but Don's going to be our guy who's watching every game, and he's going to give us kind of the inside report on the Ontario Reign this season, and we appreciate his hard work in that. All right, thank you to everyone who emailed this week. The show is literally not possible without your participation. If you want to email the show for a future feedback show or for any other reason, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com. You're always welcome to leave your comments in the comment section if you're watching on YouTube. Stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. As for the Kings' next preseason game, that is this Saturday in Bakersfield against the Ducks, 7 p.m. face-off Pacific time. It will be streaming on lakings.com, and we will have a watch party / live chat at LA Kings Extra. If you were interested in joining us for that, lakingsextra@gmail.com. We'll pass along how you can join us. And we will have a show after the preseason game as well. So bonus content this week, an extra episode of Locked On LA Kings coming up Saturday night. All right, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time. And as always, go Kings, go.